that maternal instinct. And so I decided we need a female Messiah. So I turned it into, originally it wasn't going to be, it was going to be a male Messiah. And then I decided to make it a trio of females. Two females team up with the female Messiah to save the world from the Illuminati and war. And that's how it kind of started developing. But originally it was one thing, and as I thought about it, it became another.
Well, now, to make this movie, if I remember right, I mean, you virtually, every dime for a long period of time you dumped it in. I mean, to make a movie, even if it's an indie movie or whatever type of movie, it still costs a lot of money, and you gotta feed your actors, you gotta, whatever makeup, you got all this stuff, transportation costs. I mean, maybe if I'm wrong on this, but didn't you even end up homeless because every bit of your money was going into making this movie?
Yeah, I couldn't really afford to make my movie and live or, pay rent at the same time. When I moved to LA, I was still non-union. I hadn't even joined the Screen Actors Guild. That was in 2011. And I started writing Hollywood and Vine in 2000 and near the end of 2011, beginning of 2012. In fact, I have an episode of my reality show, The Ronald Show, which is out on YouTube. And one of the episodes is the very first time I pulled up the Word document and look in the camera and go, okay, folks, I'm going to start writing this screenplay, Hollywood and Vine, about the Messiah that saves the world. So it's time-stamped somewhere, but it's right around the end of 2011, beginning of 2012. And when I got there, I was, doing non-union work, and non-union extra work in movies and TV shows out in LA. It paid like $9 an hour. So I work 8 hours a day on a set and get a check for $69 minus taxes and stuff. Sometimes 70 or 80 if we went overtime. And I would have to work 5 or 6 days a week, save all of my money just to pay my rent. That was like $900 a month. Plus I didn't have a car out there, so I had to take public transportation, and that was like $100 a month for, unlimited rides on the buses and trains. And then there was food. And then I had a cell phone because I had to be able to find my way around and have my booking agent call me and book me on shows. So I was paying exactly what I was spending. And if I wanted to make this movie, I wanted to make this movie SAG. I wanted it under the SAG new media contract so that I could hire actors if they were non-union, so that they would work for me, so under the understanding that if they had a speaking role in my movie, that they would be eligible to join the Screen Actors Guild. Plus, I wanted to start affiliating myself with the union because I wanted to join the Screen Actors Guild. Eventually, I did. So it was costing me I had to pay all my actors and my crew, and I had to feed everybody. And I wound up having 29 shoot days, and each shoot day cost a minimum of like $1,500.
Oh, wow.
So it was taking me like a year, going on to my movie, and people, it's hard to keep everybody looking the same, motivated, showing up, my crew, but somehow they all stayed together, honestly. I was able to finish it first I moved out of my apartment into a cheaper, I rented a room in a house out in the valley. I was living in North Hollywood paying $970 a month with my buddy Scott DuPont, who I had met at Universal Studios on a film shoot here in Orlando. He moved out to LA and said, hey man, I'm out here in LA. I have a room opening up in my apartment. If you want to move out here, I know you want to. And I was like, all right. So I moved out there. And now, it's funny, if he hadn't called me, I don't know how soon I would have moved there. This might have never happened. So I've got to thank Scott for kind of lighting a fire on me to move out to Hollywood. But I wasn't making enough money to be able to live and pay my actors and crew and everything and feed them. So I moved into a house, a one-room. I rented a room in a house for like $600 a month. And I told the lady I was renting from, I said, look, I'm a filmmaker, and I'm going to also use this house as part of the location for my movie, or, shooting my movie. And she was like, oh, that's fine. No problem. I like the entertainment industry too. It's pretty cool. I see them sometimes filming around town and stuff. So I was like, great. So I told my cast and crew, hey, we have the location to shoot at. So I set up a shoot day not long after, like a couple of weeks into it. When you see two people on a set acting out a scene and you see it in the movie and it's just those two people, there's like 15 other people there in the background working the cameras, working the sound, working the lights, handling different stuff. And so when 20 people showed up to the house, and it was more like 12 to 15 people, and I was there for like 48 hours straight, filming, sleeping. We were eating. I set up craft services. We shot for like a couple of days to get a couple of scenes knocked out. She basically was like, "You can't shoot here anymore. I'm sorry. I just can't live like this." And I was like, the whole reason I accepted this lease and moving in here was because you agreed that you understood what I'm doing. And so I was hosed for a minute there. So I was like, all right, well, that's fine. I understand. So I called my buddy who lived in Hollywood. He lived right off of Melrose and Western, and he had a one-room apartment, not a one-bedroom, but basically a studio apartment with a closet and a bathroom and a small kitchen. So I asked him if I could rent some space in his apartment. So he built a box in his kitchen where it was like a wooden box, and then I could put my computer on the top of the box and stand there and work on my editing and writing, and then I could sleep on the floor in the box on the bottom. And he wound up, so I did that for a month for $500.
Wait a minute. You mean you had a box where you could put your laptop on, your computer, and work out what you had to do, and then you had to sleep by the box, too? In the kitchen?
Well, I had to sleep
in the box
in the kitchen. Yeah.
I mean, he wouldn't even give you the couch?
Honestly, I would rather sleep on the floor. The couch was disgusting. I don't want to badmouth anybody, and I'm not going to.
Okay, we're not going to go there.
I just want to say that I would rather be on the floor than on the couch.
Okay.
I mean, that's all I'll say about that.
The only people I know that sleep in boxes are like under bridges and stuff like that. I never heard of somebody sleeping in a box in the kitchen. I'm sorry, but I mean, boy, you had to suffer a lot to make this movie.
Yeah, but in my mind, I knew that I have a philosophy that, you've heard the saying, "This too shall pass." I knew what I was doing this for. I knew that I wasn't going to be living on his floor for the next 20 years, and that was going to be it. I knew that there was a means to an end. He knew that there were, when I moved in there, I was like, I'm doing this because I want to finish my movie, and I can't, this is going to help me, and it was going to help him because, he was going to make $500 a month off of me, and then I was going to be able to save some money and have a place I could, just crawl into at night at the end of the day, do some work on my computer, go to sleep.
Okay, people are asking, how big a box was it? Oh, don't tell me we lost you again. Wow, I don't know if it's my Skype or his battery's getting low, but wow, I find, well, call back again if you hear me. But what is interesting is have to sleep in a box in a kitchen. I've never heard that before. Hopefully it was a good-sized box and not a small one. I don't know. I guess, people have to go through a lot, to sacrifice a lot to do things, to even do a radio show. But I got to ask you, people are asking, how big was the box?
This was about, I'm 5'10", so it was just as long as me, and about 3 feet wide, and then the top of the box came up to about my shoulders or the middle of my chest. So it was just a small wooden box that he had built.
For $500 a month. Wow, he must not have been a very good friend. I would have made him one at least twice that size and only charged you $450.
I'll tell you, he and I had our differences a couple of times, and we did have some arguments, and he made me mad a few times. I pissed him off a couple of times, but honestly, we've remained friends through the whole thing because we do have that kind of bond over that period of time. And he's honestly a brilliant musician, and one of his songs is in my movie. In fact, even after when I was finished with the movie a couple of years later and still editing it, I called him up in Hollywood, and I was like, "Hey, man, I love this one song." And I actually had videoed it for him, and he had never really recorded his songs. I set up a camera. We put it in his closet because it was a nice sound space, I hired a DP to come over and record him, and we mic'd him, and we recorded that song. And I told him, dude, I made it a small music video, but I also was like, I love this song, the tone of it, the tension in it, the feel of it, and I really want it. And he let me put it in his movie. So I'm still friends with him. Like, to this day, if I went out to Hollywood, I could go and sleep on his floor if I felt like it, because, you know, it's just, it's a bond. I'm not the kind of person that holds grudges. A long time ago, I learned to just get rid of grudges. If you hold on to a grudge and you hold on to anger and hatred, you're only hurting yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And so one of my goals in life is to be friends and know people all over the world and work with actors, writers, producers, and directors all across. Actually, I just finished writing a movie called The Lines of Destiny, and it's an international movie. And I'm currently recruiting now actors and crew all over the world. And I'm friends with them now. So we've been talking about the script. We're talking about locations. I'm finishing up the budget. It's going out to some financiers. It's going to be under $2.5 million, even though it's international. And these financiers will finance up to $5 million. So I'm following my dreams and my goals. And part of that, if I had a certain attitude that was combative and angry and not forgiving, then I don't think I would be where I am. I think that I would have shot myself in the foot a long time ago. But I didn't. You know, things happen. Nobody's perfect. Forgive and forget. Let's take the good out of this and run with it and see how good we can make things. And that was my philosophy. So I called him up and I was like, you know, I love this song, man. I want to put it in there. He's like, yeah, that's fine. You can put it in there. He's kind of just a laid-back, kind of straightforward, gruff dude, but we can hang out and have a good time, and we're friends. And he is a former porn star, so he used to take me to some parties, you know, underground parties, and so we had fun together too. I mean, it wasn't all just torture.
Okay.
At that
well,
point,
yeah, going to porn parties, I guess, wouldn't be torture unless you were married. Then you might feel guilty. But hey, we're almost out of time here. What was it like, and how hard was it to recruit people, you know, to be actors and actresses in the movie? I mean, how hard was it? I mean, did you just go up to people off the street and say, you'd be perfect in my movie I'm making? How did you do it?
I interviewed two actresses that I met on different movie sets as an extra to see if they would be in the movie to play the Messiah in Hollywood and Vine, and they read the script and they were like, felt it was so controversial they didn't want to do it. And then I was working on the movie The Kitchen Sink, which I don't know if it's been released, but it was a big movie with a budget. In fact, the hairdresser and makeup artist was Tony Scott's main hairdresser, and so they had a good crew on there. And in fact, that hairdresser told me about how Tony Scott, what really happened and why he went off that bridge, which was a shame because he did my favorite movie, True Romance. But when I met Kimberly, I told her, I just looked at, it was so weird. We were shooting a zombie vampire scene. The Kitchen Sink is about zombies, vampires, and aliens.
Oh,
and
wow,
I saw Kimberly.
Perfect.
Yeah. I saw Kimberly Powell walk. There was
Oh, we lost you again. I think your cell phone battery is dying because I was hearing clicks in there too. So let's hopefully he calls back again and we can, go there and find out. But, I'm just curious. I mean, to make a movie, I mean, I know it took him a long time because of finances to make it. I mean, to sleep in a box and all that stuff. To save money, I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if I would go personally that far, but to recruit people to make the movie and drag it out for a year and keep the people motivated. I mean, what happens if you start making a movie and it drags out, and then you go back and you try to get that same person back in to finish the movie? What happens if they don't come back? That's the part that is really scary. So here you dumped all this money in to make this movie, and then all of a sudden you don't have the same the person anymore. Okay, well, here he is. I think your cell battery must be getting low.
No, I'm full. I'm fully charged. I'm at 75%. I don't know what is wrong. I'm in that great hot spot.
Well, maybe it's our
Maybe I'm
conversation last night. Maybe it's payback.